It's almost like a Jack in the Box, except nothing pops out. If you're in the market for a new immersion blender or just a blender in general, have you considered cordless? If not, you should. You want to know why? Because it's not such a good idea to have a cord dangling from your little immersion blender to the wall when you're cooking hot soups, hot stews, and you want to blend something on the stove. You have an open flame, you have some hot liquids, you might have some ingredients on your counter. It might not be the best thing to have a cord dangling around where you might knock things over, you might get the cord dirty, you might let it get caught on fire, you might electrocute yourself if you break the cord. Probably very unlikely, but you do have to be a little bit more careful. And that's one of the reasons why I got this cordless version. Hey, what's going on guys? Pat here at All Day Like a Shark, where I share my Japanese recipe videos once a week showing you how to cook Japanese food. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing for more product reviews like this one. So today what we're going to be doing is talking about my KitchenAid immersion blender. It's the Pro line. I have the Pearl version and I use this all the time. If you have not seen this before, it comes with all that you see right here. This is the instruction manual. This is a food processor, 2.5 cups worth. All you do is take off the top. It has a blade which you can remove and wash. This is dishwasher safe. I would not recommend microwaving this though, because there is a rubber band on the bottom, which I accidentally microwaved one time and it's caused a little bit of a smoke. Comes with a food processor, comes with a pitcher. This is 4 cups worth. There is also a lid with it. I don't know what I did with the lid, but it helps if you want to whip up something using the whisk or using the blender function. So there's this container, 2.5 cups, 4 cups for the pitcher, and then it comes with all of these different attachments that you see here. First thing is a whisk. You have to attach it to this other piece right here. It goes right in there, so it's easy cleaning. You just pop this right off, throw it in the dishwasher. The only thing that I don't like is that this is plastic. All of the other components are stainless steel. And to put this on, all you have to do is lock it into place and it's ready to use. So I have my charger here. It comes with a charger, wall charger. All you have to do is take out the battery. There's a little power indicator here to let you know that it's charging. It blinks on and off slowly when it's charging. So when the battery is full, all you have to do is pop it in. There's a couple prongs that you have to align with on this side, and you throw it right in there and it's ready to use. So the way that you hold it, I hold it this way. You could probably hold it this way, but it's backwards, I think. So there's a lock function, which you always need to depress before you're going to use it. So it's a security feature. Very good, by the way. And then there's an increase speed and decrease speed. And then this is the actual button that you'd use to start the immersion blender. And on this side, there is a eject the battery button. So this pops out the battery, as you can see right there. Pop that back in. It also gives you a battery level indicator, as well as a speed or power indicator. So right now it's on low speed. Whenever you're blending something for this first time, always make sure that you're on low speed. Otherwise you're going to make a mess. I've done it. So speaking from experience there. So when you want to use this, first you have to click the unlock button, and then you can go ahead and hit the immersion blend button. And then you can increase the speed as you need to by clicking on the right button, and that'll bring it up to top speed. If you need to change out whatever attachment, you can do so very easily. Just unlock it. And there's 2 immersion stick, I guess, attachments, if you want to call them that. So these lock in to the bottom of the blender, like so. One is longer. This would be good if you have a very big, deep stock pot, for example, and you need to get in there. This is probably more appropriate for a smaller saucepan or a smaller size pot. I've only used this a handful of times, like if I'm making a really large quantity of something. And the way that these work, you can see that there's a little notch, and this is where you attach the actual blades. So this is the regular blade that I always use. It's on 100% of the time. There's several of them. There's a star-shaped one, there is a round-shaped one, and then this is the standard immersion just blending blade. I guess it's your all-purpose. The star-shaped blade that you see right here is used to process meats. So the manual says it's for meat-based dishes. I haven't really used it too much, but I could see how this would be useful for like a marinara sauce or a meat sauce if you want to puree those little chunks of meat. And then this is a frother. So it's a frother, pancake batter, muffin batter, milk. So this kit comes with a little protector set for the attachments. They are kind of sharp on the bottom, so you want to be careful, especially if you have nice pots, copper pots, stainless steel pots, for example. You don't want to scratch up. And this is the pan or pot protector. So this comes with the blender attachment, the regular one, the one that I always use. you can attach it this way. There's little notches that fit into each of these little holes on the bottom, and this helps to prevent scratching on the bottom of your pan. Very important. And then the way that you attach this is you just put it on here, it locks into place. There's a couple arrows that you have to align, and then you just put it on like that, locked into place, hit the unlock button, and it's ready to go. So this is just the longer version of that, and I think that's all of the attachments essentially. So it comes with this case, which is good if you need to transport. If you don't transport, it's good for storage. So what I use my immersion blender for mostly is whipped cream when I'm doing an ice cream base, like on the stove. I have a saucepan with milk and egg yolks and sugar. I always use the whisk attachment. In addition, I use it for smoothies, salsas, as well as sauces. If I want to make like a tomato sauce, for example, for pasta, I'll just do it right here on the stove. For smoothies, it does a great job crushing ice and frozen fruit like berries and bananas. It's not as powerful as a Vitamix, but it's plenty powerful to give you a smoothie. So if you're worried about that, there is one attachment or one thing that I would recommend. If you have not made smoothies very much at home, you might not have one of these. This is similar to what some restaurants serve their milkshakes in, at least where I grew up. There's this restaurant called Ruby's. They always serve their milkshakes in a steel cup like this. I usually blend directly in the cup after putting in some ice, some milk, some coconut water, a few bananas, and I just make my smoothies that way. It's very, very easy to use, and cleanup is easy because you don't have to clean up a blender. You just put the cup in the dishwasher and you're good to go. So it fits right in there. And if you're wondering about how big this is about, it's narrow enough to fit in a regular canning jar. It'll fit in a pint-sized canning jar, which is pretty small. Good size if you make salsas, but you got to be careful with the speed because as you get to a higher speed, even with this cup, even though it's very tall, the liquids will vortex and it'll spill over. So you got to be careful. And I usually put my hand over the edge like that so it doesn't spill. And also, I don't usually go up to 5. I'll do like a 4 or 5 unless I know for sure that it's not going to cause a vortex and spill out all over the place. So if you're wondering how long these blending arms are, this one is about 8 inches long without the bottom blade, and then this one is about 13 inches long. And I would say this stick weighs maybe between 2 to 3 pounds, so it's not too heavy. You can hold this for a good amount of time, enough. You can hold it definitely for about a minute or so, which is about how long it would take to puree a soup. So the biggest benefit to having this cordless KitchenAid immersion blender is obviously that it has no cord. So if you're doing some food processing, for example, you can tilt it whichever way you want. I do that every now and then. Same with the stove. You know, you don't have to worry about any kind of cord getting in the way. It's very convenient. Same with the smoothie. You don't need to bust out your giant Vitamix or your regular blender. Very easy to clean up if you have a smoothie cup. Highly recommended. So pros and cons. Let's talk about pros and cons. So pro, cordless. The power is sufficient and it lasts a long time. I would say I charge this about every 2 to 3 weeks, and that's with charge left over. So it's not like the battery's drained. Obviously, the more that you use it, the faster that you're using it at, the higher speed that you're using it, the faster the battery's going to get depleted. So I would say I use this probably about 3 times a week on average. So it lasts a pretty long amount of time, I would say. Very happy with the purchase. It's well built. It has stainless components except for the whisk, which doesn't really matter since the whisk is the important part. The battery charger, it plugs into the wall, doesn't take up too much space, it's pretty compact. It has an indicator telling you when the battery is fully charged. It's very well built, fits very well in my hand. It feels good holding it, and it feels very sturdy. Comes with a 5-year warranty, it comes with a storage case. Let's talk about some of the cons. So some of the cons, this is not as powerful as the corded version. So I've had this 3-speed cordless, I've had the 3-speed version by KitchenAid of the corded version, and it is a little bit more powerful, but that's the trade-off. Power versus, you know, convenience or practicality. I guess you could call it convenience. So yeah, cons, like I said, the only things that I can think of is this plastic whisk attachment piece, the power, which is not as strong as a Vitamix, a full power blender. It is also only it only does rotate in one direction. So I know my food processor, for example, there's 2 buttons where I can have the blade spinning one way, and there's another button where I can have it spinning the other way. So that'd be pretty cool if this thing could do that, maybe in a future version, KitchenAid, if you're listening, hint, hint. So some tips for using this thing: make sure that you wash these attachments right away, especially because you can get food particles stuck inside here. Since it's not completely sealed, you're able to switch these out. I do throw these in the dishwasher every now and then. These two containers are not microwavable because they have the little rubber band on the bottom. They'll catch on fire, so don't microwave them. Battery lasts a long time, but always make sure that you are charging it in between uses so that you don't run out in the middle of pureeing a pot, which I have done before. If you're using a low amount of liquid and your liquid level is somewhat shallow, when you're pureeing it, you're gonna splatter. So one way that I get around that is by tilting the pan and then using the blender, making sure that it's submerged with the tilted liquid. If you're not used to using this, you'll notice that as you increase the power, the immersion blender will get sucked down to the bottom like that, almost like a magnet. So you gotta be ready, once you increase the power, to have that happen when the blade's gonna get sucked down to the bottom of the pot. So that's why I always use the scratch guard, so that when it does hit the bottom of the pot, it's not gonna scratch it. Those are just a few of my tips. If you have any tips below that I left out, make sure to leave them in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions, and if I forgot to say anything, I'll put it in the description below. But other than that, this is one of my favorite kitchen accessories that I use every week, and has definitely made my life much easier in the kitchen without having a cord. I think pretty soon, eventually, all things will be cordless, which would be pretty nice. Can you imagine that? No more cords? That would be awesome. That's pretty much all I know about my cordless immersion blender, one of my favorite accessories. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them below. Subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this one. I'll do a product review every now and then if you guys like them. And that's going to be pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. See ya.